Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We are once again at Universal Studios Florida. Today, we're here for just a quick trip, but the primary focus of today is to have a little bit of a discussion with you guys and do a little bit of speculation as to whether or not the VelociCoaster is going to open on June 10th with a virtual queue, or if it's just going to be first come, first serve, standby line only like we saw in the past. So we got a lot of things to cover, a lot of things to see and do. I'm super excited for today. It's also really, really hot. So let's not waste any more time. Let's head on over there. I don't know about you guys, but it definitely looks and feels like they cranked up the speed at the beginning portion of the VelociCoaster. The launches sound a lot more forceful. To me, it looks like it's flying through the beginning portion of the ride more smoothly and more quickly. You can also hear a rattle from the train coming off of it as it's going into that second launch, and that's something that I never noticed before. That's really interesting. I wonder if Universal cranked up the speed a little bit, because that was a big complaint that a lot of people were giving, you know, with these test runs, that it looked like it was going so slow in the beginning. I think they might have cranked it up just a little bit, at least to me. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think with that testing footage that you guys saw, especially the rattling. The rattling of the coaster is what really put me onto it, because I never noticed that before. And the launches, they sound more forceful. Oh my gosh, that is so interesting. The bypass is closed off once again. I guess that was specifically for the spring break season. Holy cow. So yeah, we're not getting back there anymore until possibly closer to when the VelociCoaster actually opens. Once the attraction's been open for a few months and we're not seeing 3 or 4 hour waits daily for this attraction like we saw for Hagrid's, I highly expect the main entrance to be right through here. I suspect the bypass bridge will remain open only because the entrance is so close to it and it just provides an alternate way to get to it, but I fully expect this to be the more normal route for the queue line once it opens up after a month or so. So you guys may recall a few years ago when Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure opened up in 2019, we were here for that grand opening. And because it was a first come, first serve, we weren't in the era of COVID, we were in a standby line for upwards of 9 hours. And the line got so long that they needed to utilize the queue for Poseidon's Fury. So we wrapped through all of this and even went backstage and popped back out by the Sinbad Theater. So if for whatever reason the VelociCoaster opens and it is a first come, first served standby line only type of deal similar to Hagrid's, I fully expect this attraction to remain down and to be utilized as a standby line for the VelociCoaster, and doing something very similar like going backstage and coming back out by Sinbad. I also highly expect that bypass bridge to be utilized as queue space as well for the foreseeable future when the VelociCoaster opens, until those initial crowds die down. Now, this is all in case the VelociCoaster opens up with just a standby line. I do not expect, however, the VelociCoaster to open with a standby line. I fully expect this attraction to open with a virtual line only, similar to how Hagrid's is operating right now. If you guys recall, when Hagrid's first opened, it was supposed to have a virtual queue. They never utilized that when it first opened. It took a while for the virtual queue system to be put into Hagrid's system. So I fully expect that with Hagrid having a virtual queue system, VelociCoaster is going to have a virtual queue. Now again, this is all just 100% speculation. I have no real idea as to whether or not VelociCoaster is going to be utilizing a virtual queue or not. However, I do think that it is the smartest thing to do. Because of COVID, we have had to use virtual queue for multiple attractions around the resorts. So if they have the system already in place for these other rides, it only makes sense that they will use it for the VelociCoaster to manage crowds, especially since they, you know, announced the official grand opening day. A lot of people are going to try to be here on the opening day, me, myself included. So the next option to mitigate those crowds is to have pass holder previews and soft openings in the month or weeks before the official grand opening on June 10th. So sometime in May, I fully expect there to be some kind of previews or soft openings leading up to the official grand opening, because I don't think Universal Studios wants to have another Hagrid situation where the ride just constantly broke down for multiple hours, day after day at the same time. It was horrendous. But yeah, just so you guys can get a frame of reference, we came out over here and then entered the queue back that way, zigzagged around, and then went backstage, and then we didn't come back out until out by Poseidon's Fury. So I expect them to do the same thing and then loop it back around over here and then cut on through the bypass bridge, because I highly doubt that they're going to have a really long queue going through Hogsmeade. It's just not going to happen. It's crowded enough as it is. So another thing that a lot of you guys have been messaging me about is that Universal Studios came out and updated their app with the VelociCoaster, and within that app you can go in there and look at the physical restrictions for this attraction. I want to talk about that for a second though. Let's read off exactly what Universal Studios says on their website. So it says here, this ride employs safety restraints which may restrict certain guests from riding due to body shape and size. Guests whose waistline is at least 40 inches or greater may not be accommodated on this ride. The seat's headrest must be able to properly support the head and neck. Guests are strongly encouraged to try the test seat provided at the entrance of the attraction to determine their availability or their ability to ride. So yeah, a lot of you guys have messaged me on Twitter and on Instagram about that. Thank you guys so much, by the way, for that. But I want to say right off the bat, I think the 40 inches is just a generic term that Universal uses across all their attractions. If you go to Harry Potter, if you go to the Hulk, if you go to Rip Ride Rocket, all of those rides are very notorious for not being very accommodating to larger guests. And all of those attractions say 40 inches, 40-inch waist size may not be able to be accommodated. So I think that that is just a generic term that is being used for, you know, the VelociCoaster, just like everything else here at Universal Studios. I fit comfortably on Hagrid, and I also fit comfortably on the Hulk. The only rides that I have real issues with are Escape from Gringotts and Rip Ride Rocket. I feel like if I can fit on Forbidden Journey, Hagrid's, and the Hulk, I should be fine on this attraction. Also, I want to reference the Intamin website because I did a little bit of research and digging on the Intamin website, trying to find something about the restraints for this particular ride. Now, in the Intamin website has a specific page dedicated to their newest launch ride system, similar to Taron in Phantasialand or Phantasialand, depending on where you're from. And it's the same exact ride system, ride vehicle, tracks, and everything. And it says on the website that these particular vehicles that are used for this style of roller coaster are specifically made so that way you don't need, quote, big boy seats. So I'm very, very hopeful that they are going to be very accommodating and forgiving to larger guests. Once again, please keep it tuned right here on the channel. Make sure you're subscribed and have the notification bell turned on, because when those walls come down, we're going to be the first ones out there to try that test seat, and I'm going to make a video for you guys to let you know what to expect on the VelociCoaster as to whether or not I think it is fat friendly. But I just want to throw my 2 cents in there with that, because that's definitely something that a lot of you guys have been asking me about. It's something that I've been very curious about. I've done so much research on it, but I'm just wanting to say right now that I am very, very hopeful.